Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga show. We are returning after the international break, ready and raring to go to look ahead to the next few games of the Bundesliga, Matchweek 27, as we're very much on the home straight. So very happy, A, that the international break is over, and B, to be joined by your fine self, Mark, over in Nuremberg. How are you doing? How have you coped during this Bundesliga free period?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, initially I was quite excited to have a week off after obviously like 10 straight weeks. But when I saw the lineup, excluding the Nations League games, which were quite watchable, to be fair, but I mean, the England games were dull as dishwater, and we've not really learned anything about Thomas Tuchel's England as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I thought that I did watch a little bit of the Germany game, the second leg against Italy, which was quite a good game. And obviously, they move on to play Portugal in the semi-finals now. But yeah, in general, happy to have the Bundesliga back. Absolutely, 100%, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Thrilled to be back. Before we get kicking off with stuff, just the usual little odds and bods of admin. First thing just to say, we'll be back tomorrow morning for fantasy football action. So we'll be doing our draft team. Obviously, the fact that we've had an international break, we've got unlimited transfers. So myself and Marina will be back tomorrow morning to go through all of that. So that'll be great fun. Do make sure that you leave a like on this video. Obviously, if you're watching live, do let us know your predictions as we're going along. Hopefully, you're all as excited as we are about footy coming back this weekend. And do make sure you give our two partners a follow. First off, being Bundesliga Boxes. Check them out on all social media, as well as the brilliant Bully News. And check us out on socials as well. Let's just get stuck into it. It's just nice to talk Bundesliga again. Like we said, it's always nice to have a bit of a refresh, but I'm ready. I'm ready and raring to go, Mark. And we can start, looking forward, predicting, reviewing it, getting stuck into all of it. With the kickoff being tomorrow evening. And we have, Leverkusen taking on Bochum. No great distance, at least for both sides from a travel point of view. Do you want to kick us off and see how you think this Friday night fixture will go?
Yeah, I mean, probably most times you would say this is a home banker, really. But given the improvement from Bochum, the continued improvement, particularly in an attacking perspective, where they do once again look like they're a team capable of scoring goals again now, that is going to make it an interesting one. I also think the fact that Bayer Leverkusen's players have been basically all over the world over the last couple of weeks doesn't particularly prepare them that well for this encounter on a Friday night as well, which is probably quite frustrating for the home side. But having said that, obviously Leverkusen did finish the previous period of the season in style with that fantastic come-from-behind win against Stuttgart. So they will be well prepared for this. Paddy Schick got another couple of goals over the international break, so he's going to be raring to start in this one. Boniface, linked with a move away in the summer, will also be wanting to get game time and potentially fill his boots against a Bochum team who do concede goals, don't they? So having said that, I do think the home team will get over the line. It's a great opportunity to put pressure on Bayern as well. If they do win this game, it'd be down to just 3 points ahead of Bayern's Saturday afternoon game. So this is the kind of game you've got to put that pressure on. And I think they'll get a 3-1 home win in this one.
Yeah, lovely stuff. I was going to lock in 3-1 as well. So we line up pretty perfectly there. I think Leverkusen will feel in a pretty good headspace. All they can do is put the pressure on the record champions and make it 3 points. Keep on doing that, like we said a couple of weeks ago, really. So I see them getting over the line. Bochum, we've seen improvements from them. And well, based on news today as well, Mark, about Bochum extending the contract to Dieter Hecking.
True.
What do you reckon to that, just off the bat?
Yeah, really good, but I think it's under the condition that he keeps them up, I believe. Yeah, I don't think it's a guaranteed extension, but I think things are going well, really. I think he's done a really good job since he took over. Let's not forget that they were in utterly dire straits, basically, when he came in, and they looked like guaranteed to go down, but at the moment, things are looking good. I mean, this is going to be a hard game for them, but if they can get a point from this, they're going to still have a chance of getting out of relegation trouble. So, I think it's a good signing, but obviously they've got to stay up before that's confirmed for the 2-year extension.
Yeah, fair enough. I must admit, I haven't read much into it. I just saw it as a headline when I was scrolling just a little bit earlier on. So I must give that a bit more of a read. But possibly some good news for Bochum and Dieter Hecking, particularly if they do stay up. Then on to Saturday afternoon games. Title race theme we're going on with here. Bayern are hosting FC St. Pauli, of which obviously is a game of huge importance to them, because they'll have to potentially respond to a Leverkusen win, and maybe the gap being 3 points. I think obviously first big note ahead of this game, Mark, is the injuries for Bayern. Very unfortunate news, especially around Alphonso Davies. Doing his cruciate, he's going to be on the sidelines for a long while. And bad news for Upamecano. I think he's noted down as being out for several weeks. So that's a huge blow. It really is. Maybe not in the context of this game, but in the context of how Bayern manage their squads across 2 competitions that they're still in. If we're just talking about this game, I don't think it impacts the way that they'll go about it. Pauli have defended very, very well this season, which, we've given them credit for on the last show, I think, as well, before we went on to the international break. But this will obviously be a real tough challenge for them. Obviously, with Kane scoring goals for England, Elise scoring goals. The talent is there quite clearly that to see the home side through, especially after a couple of draws, losses prior to the break. So, it's all open, but I see it being a home win, and I would say 3-0. I don't see Pauli scoring myself.
Yeah, I mean, it is a game that the home side are going to be pretty big favourites in. But let's not forget that Bayern have struggled against bottom third teams in recent weeks. They were humbled against Bochum famously a few weeks ago. Yeah, and then also the draw against Union, which was less than inspiring to say the least. But I think as a result of those 2 results, there is a bit of pressure on, especially as we said, if Leverkusen follow through with our prediction and do win this game, there will be a bit of pressure on them for them to get the 3 points here, with still some tough games to come in that last 5-6 matches as well for Bayern. So this is a game that they will feel like they need to win. I just feel as though, with the added pressure, they should be able to improve their level a little bit. Pauli, defensively, they always provide tough opposition. They're never a team that just rolls over and gets battered, really, are they? And I don't think they will in this game either. But it's just that attack that I worry about with them at times. When they do get chances, they don't really take them. And generally, the chance creation has been relatively low in recent weeks too. So I think it's going to be a 2-0 home win for Bayern this one. I don't think it'll be a battering, but it's a very routine home win for the hosts.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Do you want to walk us through our next Saturday game then?
Yeah, so a pretty interesting looking fixture against, ever underperforming Hoffenheim, who were really poor at Pauli in the last game before the break and basically didn't create anything against the tough tackling, tough defended hosts. And they're going to come up against a similar kind of team here, just obviously with a better attack, basically, in Augsburg. I mean, this is a team who really fight for every single ball, and they're extremely hard to play against at the moment. Obviously, I had the privilege of seeing them live a couple of weeks ago, and the team just get no space against them, and their off-the-ball work is really, really impressive. Sessiger just continues to impress, basically, and Finn Darman getting plaudits from all over Europe this international break, really. I think England apparently has got an English mother, and the England are even on the radar for him at the minute, which is incredible, really, how it changes, isn't it? From the bench when Labrovic was starting for most of the season, and then gets his chance. He's already kept 7, 8 clean sheets, is it? Which is just crazy to think, really. But Augsburg are really living the dream at the minute, and they will probably be favourites to go and win in the SAP arena. Having said that, Hoffenheim are a team that kind of blow hot and cold, and you never quite know what's going to come from them. So I am going to go for them to get a goal here. And I think we will see an end to this Augsburg winning run, but not the unbeaten run. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw, this game. I think there's a little bit more pressure on Hoffenheim to get something from this one against an Augsburg side who are relatively safe and maybe don't even want European football in truth, because it can put a lot of pressure on your squad and stuff. So I think this one will end up being a 1-1 draw, but Augsburg will stay unbeaten to 11 games, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, I could absolutely go for that. It being a draw. Think Finn Darman's long run of not conceding a goal will probably end. I mean, he's in fine company already. I think he only needs another 6 minutes or so of not conceding to jump up another place in the all-time records. He's really close to about 2 or 3 of them, actually. So I do hope he does jump up, even higher. Maybe the international break came at a bad time for Augsburg just because they're in such fine fettle. Hopefully their momentum can carry them forward. But it just feels like one of those random games where Hoffenheim might show up and actually win as well. So I might back the home team for no, logical reason, as to just sometimes Hoffenheim do this to keep themselves out ultimately of relegation trouble. But absolutely the away side are going absolutely fun, great guns. Just maybe think that perhaps their momentum might have been shifted by an international break. Obviously, momentum is an important thing in football. But we'll lock in your 1-1 draw as you led on that game. On to another Saturday afternoon game. We've got Wolfsburg taking on Heidenheim. I mean, home side look like pretty strong favourites overall for this game. Heidenheim, of course, really struggling all through the season, not really showed great signs, maybe until the last couple of weeks, Mark, just before the international breaks, maybe giving them a bit of a sniff. Obviously, the win against Kiel was vital, but they also still, sadly for the bottom three, all feel a bit disconnected, and it still obviously is ultimately that race or battle for 16th place out of Bochum, Heidenheim and Kiel. Unless things go completely crazy in the the next few weeks and months. I fancy Wolfsburg for this one. They'll want to get this momentum back that they did have maybe again a month or so ago. They've dropped points against teams that maybe they shouldn't have done, and if they can go on a bit of a run, which the talent in their team suggests that they could. They're absolutely in the mix, obviously, for getting European football, and that will be a target of theirs. So I will say a 3-1. I'll go 3-1 again. More goals, please. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, this is another one where you're strongly looking at the home side, isn't it? But let's not forget that Wolfsburg have struggled to beat struggling teams at home, which is one of the reasons why they're not a little bit higher. Like they only drew against Kiel, they drew against St. Pauli at home recently as well, and I think against Bochum too. So that's all 3 of those bottom kind of teams they've not beaten at home. But I've got a feeling that, Ralph Hasenhüttl will really kind of dust them down for this one and make them realise they need to win it. Because if they don't win this, then European football will start slipping away from them with tougher challenges to come. So I think he'll have really kind of drilled it into the players over the break, the ones that were still there. And as I said, this is a must-win game, really. For Heidenheim, it's just one of them where they've just got to try and stick in with a point, isn't it, really? You definitely take a point if you were Heidenheim for this one. As you say, they have improved the last couple of weeks with 4 points from games against Hoffenheim and Kiel. But this is a tougher challenge, and I think, I'm also going to go for a 3-1 home win here for Wolfsburg. I think they'll finally turn it on against one of the lower teams, which they've struggled against this season. So, moving on for one of the games of the weekend, really, isn't it? A game that really stands out, tradition against company, so to speak. Obviously, Gladbach, you never quite know what's coming from them. They really are such a Jekyll and Hyde team. I thought they were really good before the break against Bremen. The attack really kind of flowed there with Player getting a hat-trick. Player just as inconsistent as his team, really, at times, isn't he? Like, he's either brilliant or non-existent in that attacking midfield role. But, they are quite nicely placed still. In fact, very nicely placed, in truth, inside the top 7, which is likely to give them a Conference League position at this stage, unless potentially one of the, Bielefeld win the cup, which is highly unlikely. Leipzig, obviously they got that 2-0 win against Dortmund as well before the break. But I think we said on the review show, Rory, that it kind of flattered them a bit. It was a great performance from Gulazzi, I think, more than anyone, really. And Xavi Simons also played well in that game. And Xavi Simons also had a good international break too. So he's looking like he's really getting back to his best at the minute. Yeah. But despite Gladbach's poor home form, I'm looking at them for this one. I don't know why. I just feel as though they'll have had more time. Not many of their players went on international break, I believe. Obviously, Kleindienst did and got a goal. 2 goals, actually, which was great to see from him too. But he's going to be back in full fettle and ready to go against this Leipzig team. So I've actually gone for a minor shock in this one. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Gladbach win here. What do you think?
Yeah, I can buy into that. I like the Gladbach side this season. I think they've played attractive football. Very, very fast players, good wing player times. Obviously, then finding that traditional centre forward in the shape of Tim Kleindienst and his move from Heidenheim has obviously been a massive success for him on a personal level. Great to see him, scoring goals midweek. So I think this might be a 2-0 scoreline to Gladbach. And you said rightly that they are a Jekyll and Hyde side. But you kind of starting to maybe think that the ugly side of Gladbach is maybe starting to be less common. And the more consistent side is shining through more often than not. So that's something that will have to happen, throughout these last games for them to get a European spot again, which will be their ambitions. And Leipzig, they ultimately needed, their international break for players to go off and maybe feel a bit of confidence in their international teams and in those setups, to then come back together as a group and try and find something. And obviously, great win prior to the international break, but it did flatter them. And, with Dortmund had an XG of nearly 4 or something daft like that, when they should have scored however many in that second half. But results are what matter, especially for a Leipzig side that are used to sipping on the fine wine of Champions League football. So the pressure's certainly on Marco Rose, but I'm going to say that it could become existentially more pressurized with a 2-0 loss. So did you say 2-1? And I'll lock that
2-1. Yeah, I went for that.
I will lock 2-1 in. Then we also have Holstein Kiel versus Werder Bremen on Saturday afternoon. Big game for the home side. This has got to be a game that Kiel got to target as being one of those that they're able to win. and against the Bremen side, who of course have had a very poor 2025. Their results and performances did have an uplift just before the international break, but yeah, still kind of get the feeling that they're vulnerable, especially so at the back. So again, with this Holstein Kiel side being a team that certainly can score goals, obviously with that fantastic record of scoring in every away game that they've played so far this season, it'd be nice and refreshing to see Kiel really go for it. What do they have to lose ultimately? So it'd be lovely to see some of their more creative players in from the start. And if they can make a quick start against Bremen, I can absolutely see them getting a positive result. It's just whether that borderline is, do I see them getting a draw, or can they get over the line and maybe get an important 3 points? So I'm a bit unsure, but I'm going to go with the scoreline that I hope happens, just from a relegation race, and the fact that Kiel have really grown on me throughout the season. Nothing against Bremen either. I will say 2-1 to the home side. I'd like to see them continue to put pressure on teams around them. If they make a good start, then I can see them maybe nicking a win. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it is a tough one, this, because you're starting to get the feeling, Kiel are running out of those winnable games, aren't they? I mean, obviously we saw them against Heidenheim, and to be honest, I thought that was the worst performance of the season. I really did. They just didn't show up for that and were well beaten by an improved Heidenheim side. But that is the kind of game they kind of had to get at least a point, probably a win, really. And for me, defeat here, and it's the writing's on the wall in a way, because they've still got quite a lot of tough teams to play, and they are playing still an off-form Bremen team who've only won twice in 2025. So yeah, it is a tough one, but I just feel as though the pressure, having watched a lot of the game against Heidenheim live, I felt as though we saw the pressure on this Kiel team, and they've given us some great memories this season, and they deserve to be in with a chance of staying up at this stage, even though a lot of people thought they were, on everyone's list for relegation this season. They've overperformed for me in many ways, but unfortunately, I think Bremen are going to get the win here, because there still is pressure on them and Werner, because Werner needs results. Like there's already murmurs that he could be let go at the end of the season after a very kind of underwhelming 2025, after what has been a really good 3.5 years or so in charge for him. But for me, he has to win this game if he wants to keep his job, and they are going to get a 2-1 win in Kiel, which is unfortunate for the home side. But
yeah, like that. No, I mean, like it pits us at opposite ends from a results point of view. So we shall watch it with great interest to see who comes out on top. But I'll pop down the Kiel win as I went first, and you can lead us on the top spiel for Saturday.
Yeah, and it's a very intriguing looking top spiel, isn't it, as well, against a Frankfurt side who've broken back into form with that really impressive annihilation of Ajax, really, over 2 legs, and then a very good win in Bochum as well. So they've really hit the form again. Ekitike got a hat-trick for France under 21s too against England. So the form is back there at Frankfurt, and I think the midfield is starting to work harder again. Højlund has slotted in nicely alongside Shaqiri, and I like the way that he moved Larsen further forward as well for the last game against Bochum. I felt as though that worked well. Batshuayi too is kind of turn back the clock and put in some half-decent performances too. As for Stuttgart, you're starting to worry about them a little bit, to be honest. I mean, they find themselves in the bottom half, which nobody quite thought. I mean, obviously the situation isn't bleak, because, there's still only a few points off European places, ultimately. But you are starting to think, for me, if they lose this, Champions League is completely gone, basically. It's as simple as that. And to be honest, European hopes will also be starting to fade if they lose this one too, because poor form, a defence which is just not fitting at all, goalkeeper errors from Nubel. They still retain that great attacking threat, don't they? But in general, it's just not working out for Stuttgart. And for me, I'm looking at the home team, I'm afraid, Rory, here. I think it's going to be a good game. And if it's anything like the Leverkusen one, it's going to be a thriller. So, because we like the goals in these games, I pitched in a 3-2 Frankfurt win for this one.
Yeah, thought you might go with something like that. Yeah, hard to disagree. I think if we're talking about players who scored on international duty as well, the great man Nick Voltemade scored 2 for the under-21s for the German setup, didn't he? So he's continuing his great strides. Also been linked with a move to Bayern. Very much hope that doesn't come to fruition, that they stay well away. Although I believe he doesn't have a release clause, which is maybe something positive. Stuttgart, I think, like you say, the worrying thing at the moment mainly is that, there probably are a number of different areas where we could talk at length if I wanted to talk about Stuttgart at length, but obviously we're doing a prediction show. But yeah, I do worry about the defence. It was nice to see pictures of Daxo, Zagadou back in training for VfB. So, it might still be a week or two before we, see him in any kind of action. But, encouraging signs if you got him and Chabot in the centre back partnership, you're looking a bit more positive. But for this game, Stuttgart will be so gutted with what happened pre-international break, and maybe the international break was a welcome thing, just to reset. International players go and do their thing. A handful of them got Germany minutes. Obviously, Stiller got a start, didn't he? I think in the second game. Came on as a sub in the first game, I think. So there are obviously minutes around there, and maybe again just different settings will help them. So you've gone 3-2. I'll go 2-2. And the VfB to grab a draw, just because I think, especially with the history of what happened the other way around, last time these two teams met was another thrilling game, to which Stuttgart came on the wrong side of the result. But I think it'll be a draw, but I think it will be a good game for the top spiel on Saturday evening. But we will lock in your 3-2 prediction. And then on to Sunday's games. Freiburg versus Union Berlin. In the last few seasons, this has obviously been a game of real high importance from a Champions League perspective, hasn't it? I think there was that game not last season, but 2 seasons ago, where they played each other the last game of the season or something for the outright, obviously, position. And then, obviously Union took it. Completely different circumstances and scenarios. We know the home team are good at beating teams that they should beat. And this Union side is a team that Freiburg on paper should beat. So I fancy them at the Europa Park Stadion. I would say a close game, because Union, gave Bayern a good game in a classic kind of Union Berlin style. Freiburg will have plenty of the ball, obviously, but I think one thing that will be key for this game, again, is Freiburg using their superpower, which of course is the set piece play and the crossing and things like that, which will put pressure on Union. I think they will eventually succumb to a 2-0 defeat. So I'll lock in 2-0 home win. What do you reckon, Mark?
Yeah, it's pretty hard to argue with that, Rory. I mean, as you say, Freiburg are so consistent at beating those teams home and away, who they feel as though they should beat. Obviously, we've seen a lot of classics as well. Let's not forget last season, it was the last day of the season when Union got that last second penalty, which kept them out of the playoff as well. So, I think 2 years ago, it was a Champions League match. And then, then last season, it was incredibly... and Union won both of those actually as well. But they were both in Berlin, so this is a different perspective. Freiburg are looking good still, really. I thought they were really good at Mainz, and they did show that they're not just strong defense; they also have a lot of quality going forward still. And I think they'll try and unleash that a little bit on this Union side. I mean, they've had a good run. They won at Frankfurt and then beat then drew with Bayern. So they've had 4 really unexpected points in the last 2 games. But I just feel as though Freiburg, they're extremely... They can rough it with the bottom teams a little bit too. That's one of their strengths, really, and I think they can get a couple of goals off set plays in this one and get a comfortable 2-0 win. So, moving on to the final game. I mean, it's probably the game that everyone's looking for, along with the Frankfurt-Stuttgart game this weekend, isn't it, really? I mean, it's Dortmund-Mainz, the scene of, obviously, the famous collapse a couple of years ago when Dortmund couldn't see it over the line. But obviously, since then, Mainz have just gone from strength to strength, and now one of the strongest teams in the Bundesrepublik. They don't lose games, really. They don't really concede goals. They've got Johnny B and Amiri, who obviously both started. Admittedly, didn't do particularly well, but I think the fact that they both started against Italy is a huge credit to what Mainz have been doing this season, and the improvement that both of them have made this season under Bo Henriksen. They will travel north with hope in this game as well, because Dortmund, for all the good they've done in the Champions League, and they've not always been terrible in the league, but they've just not got the results, have they? And, they're currently sitting in an utterly dreadful 11th position, which was unthinkable, really, at this stage of the season for Dortmund. And basically, this is, like I said with Stuttgart, this is their absolute last chance at Champions League. I mean, to be honest, most people don't even have them in the conversation, but win this and they're still in the conversation. But anything short of a win in the Champions League is utterly gone. And to be honest, European places will also be looking gone if they lose this game as well, because I think they play Bayern next up. And, the games aren't getting any easier. They keep running into formed teams at the minute, Dortmund, which is a bit unfortunate. I think it's going to be a good game, this one, but I just see something in this Mainz team that they're going to get over the line in this one. It might be a bit tougher, the fact that it's a night game and there will be a big atmosphere at Dortmund for this one, but I'm going to go with the form team here. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Mainz win. What do you think, Rory?
Yeah, I can see why you've gone for that. I'm always blinded by Dortmund's home form because I always feel that they're so strong at Signal Iduna Park. But, this season they've been, fine at home, but they've not been, amazing or unbeatable. And so I was sitting on a draw initially. But yeah, I can absolutely see Mainz, the 0-5ers going there and doing their job on them. The only thing, again, is in my head is international break, certain former players maybe being stalled a little bit. But, aside from the handful of players that went on international break or leave for Mainz, the bulk of that squad would have at least been training together still and still having that feel-good factor ultimately. Obviously, a very different atmosphere in Dortmund overall. So I'm going to be boring and sit on the fence and say I'll go with the 2-2 draw. But you reckon it will be a 2-1 win for Mainz. So I'm happy to lock that in. That's no problem. And that obviously is your lot for Matchweek 27. So yeah, if our results do come to pass, we would have it as you were at the top, with Bayern responding to a Leverkusen win. But Mainz very much still holding strong in that top 4 spot with Frankfurt holding firm as well, closely followed by the likes of Freiburg and Gladbach. Things not looking so pretty for Dortmund or Stuttgart. And then at the bottom, again, pretty much as you were. Pauli still looking pretty comfortable, 5 points ahead of Holstein Kiel, who might swap places with Bochum. That's based on what obviously I said from a Kiel perspective. So, lovely stuff. Really nice just to chat through and look ahead to the next match week. And hopefully there's some great games lined up for us. Really looking forward to it and looking forward to tomorrow morning to do fantasy football draft squad with Runa. So I'll be back tomorrow morning ultimately. But Mark, over to you just to close things up for this evening.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed what you saw, then don't forget to check out our social media as well. We're on X and Threads at Over the Bar FB. We're also on Instagram to @overthebarfb. And yeah, as Rory said, don't forget to check in tomorrow morning with the fantasy show, which will be returning after a couple of weeks. So yeah, thanks very much, guys. We're back in business, obviously, for the kind of run-in now of the Bundesliga season. No more international breaks to kind of ruin our party. So yeah, it's going to be good. A lot going on this weekend. And yeah, Rory will see you tomorrow, and I'll see you again on Monday. So see you then, guys. Ciao, ciao.
There's all.